Hello from the Grand Rapids Public Library. I am in a random corner away from people, I hope, and I am currently challenging myself to get over Cringe Mountain and film in public. So I'm trying to be quiet to not disturb people on level 4. It's a little quieter here, but I thought there was going to be too much feedback in the other levels. But we are officially at the end of week 2 of The Artist Way. This week was about recovering a sense of identity, and Julia Cameron talked about 2 different types of people in this chapter. One was poisonous playmates, and the other was crazy makers. And so poisonous playmates are the people around you that might be discouraging towards your newfound artist or your rediscovery of your artist. These are typically other blocked artists, but thinking about people that might knock you down or judge what you're doing if you're telling them your plans, or judge your art, or whatever it is. And then the crazy makers are the folks that are really just the energy vampires in your life. And while I was reading this chapter, I can think of poisonous playmates and crazy makers I have had in my life in the past. But as of right now, I feel like my poisonous playmate and my crazy maker of my life are myself. And that's pretty tough. But later in the book, she does go on to talk about self-sabotage and skepticism, just of the overall week 2. You're starting to see some changes in yourself. You're starting to see some changes in like your luck or your opportunities, and you begin to discount them because you're like, oh, it's just right now. And I would say that she is spot on. Ouch. And so actually what I got most out of this chapter was being able to identify when I'm being my own crazy maker and when I'm being my own poisonous playmate. So I'm just going to read some of the things she had to say about poisonous playmates. So she says, as blocked creatives, we focus not on our responsibilities to ourselves, but on our responsibilities to others. We tend to think such behavior makes us good people. It doesn't. It makes us frustrated people. And I can really, unfortunately, align with this. So I do a lot of volunteering in my community, and I love it. I'm not going to stop. But there have been multiple times where I've chosen to be creative for those volunteer opportunities instead of for myself. And I will say that a lot of the time when I am in those spaces of using my creativity for other purposes, when I'm not really feeding my own well, those ideas don't come as naturally to me. I find myself pulling a lot of ideas and information from other sources instead of from within myself. And that just is one of those, goes to show that you do need to spend time with your own artist, feeding your own artist, and making your own art for yourself, even if you don't think anyone's gonna like it, even if you don't think you're gonna like it. One thing she says in the book is something along the lines of, you don't have to worry about the quality of your work, you just have to worry about the quantity. The only thing that you as an artist have to worry about is showing up and making it and doing the work. So crazy makers essentially are, what does she say here? She lists out a bunch of different things that crazy makers are, and there are a couple that I highlighted because they remind me of myself. She says, crazy makers break deals and destroy schedules. Crazy makers discount your reality. No matter how important your deadline or how critical your work trajectory at that moment, crazy makers will violate your needs. And crazy makers are expert blamers. And so those I feel like really aligned with how I see myself as my own crazy maker, because I will completely ignore the deadlines I set for myself or the schedule I set for myself, especially when it comes to me doing creative work. I will turn around and say, oh, doing the laundry is more important. Oh, the thing I said I would do for volunteering is more important. And I will pour my early in the week or early in the day or weekend energy into those things. And by the time I turn around and am ready to do creativity for myself, I no longer have anything in the well. And that's just kind of silly of me, because if I were to do my own creative endeavors first, I would likely have more in the well to feed into those other areas. And I'm not saying that I don't believe that we should completely give up the things that we do for other people, but I do think that especially as folks that are blocked artists, we do look for those distractions in life, and what better of a distraction than helping someone else or being a people pleaser, right? And then crazy makers are expert blamers. That one I can see coming out of me with my full-time job. So I do work a full-time job, and that is my biggest source of blame for not being creative. I'm tired after work. I don't have time because I have to work. On the weekend I have to do all of the adult things that need to get done because I can't do those during the week when I work. And so just not blaming my whole lack of creativity on my full-time job is something that I am going to work on going forward. But I really enjoyed this chapter, not for, I think, its intended purpose of cutting people out of your life, but more so for being able to identify that self-sabotage and that skepticism inside myself. And so I don't think that I enjoyed the chapter for its intended purpose to cut people out of your life that are toxic and holding you back, but I enjoyed it because I am the person in my life that's holding myself back. And so now that I have these kind of labels of crazy maker and poisonous playmate, I can identify when I'm being that to myself and self-sabotaging. Another big part of the exercises in this chapter were to really find where you are spending your time and where maybe you might be able to fit some things in to feed the areas of your life that are lacking and help yourself find some time, some pockets that you can be creative in. And so when she essentially had me do the exercise, the Wheel of Life exercise. And if you don't know what that is, it's just a wheel with different aspects and categories of your life that you fill in on a scale of yes, this is a total focus of my life, I'm doing great, and this is kind of lacking. And so the two things that I found that were lacking the most were career and spirituality. And it was kind of nice to get those in perspective. I, in the back of my head, knew that was already where I was lacking, but it is a great opportunity for me to identify where I can maybe fit in some nature walks, where I can maybe make my commute to work better, or find ways to make my job more fun or more aligned with what I believe in. So that was also very interesting this week. And one exercise that has come up through both week 1 and week 2 is alternate lives. That's not what it's called, but I can't remember exactly what the exercise is called. But essentially she has you list out 5 other lives that you would lead if you were not doing what you were doing right now. And from there you pick things that you could potentially do throughout the week or throughout your life that would align more with those dream lives or whatever. And so that's been really fun to think about, what else would I do with my life if I could just choose, which you can just choose, but that's a conversation for a different video. But what else would I do if I wasn't doing what I am doing right now? And so I put like baker and bookstore owner and adventure. So I've been trying to take that exercise and fill in some activities that I can do in my normal life that might align with me owning a bakery. So this weekend, I'm gonna make some bread. And that has been interesting too, just as a list of things you can do to fill in those pockets of time. So I'm gonna call it there. That's week 2, a little quicker than the week 1 video, but join me back next week for week 3. Bye.